for your grant writing, for your business plans, for anything. I mean, census data is used for so many different things. I have a canned presentation, but then we're going to give a demo. I'm going to end a few minutes early, and then if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'll also have my contact information, so you can get it from the library, or you can just jot down my info from my presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Excuse me. Okay, let's start this. Okay. So I call this your community by the numbers, and this is going to emphasize some ACS and decennial data, but the tool that I'm going to demonstrate is called data.census.gov. So the objectives of today's talk is we're going to learn about census data. Many of you may know already about the data, but hopefully you'll pick up something that you didn't know before. We're going to distinguish between different levels of census geography. A lot of really, to really understand how to get data, you have to know the geography that you're getting for. Do you want data for a state? Do you want data for a county or particular counties, or for cities? So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. And then we're going to use the census data tools to get the data. Excuse me. So things you need to know. You need to know, like I said, your geography. So think about that as I'm speaking. Think about, okay, what are the places that I'm going to need data for? You need to know your data source and your time frame. We just finished the 2020 census about a year ago, and that data just came out. So if you're looking for the every 10-year data, let's say you want data for a community every 10 years, you may want to look at the census data. But if you want data for every year, so if you want to do an evaluation of maybe a county and look at median income over the last few years, you're going to want to use the American Community Survey data. And then I'm going to show data tools. So let's get into the census data. So who we are. So the Census Bureau, we're a federal agency under the U.S. Department of Commerce, and we are the nation's largest statistical agency. So what does that mean? It means that the Census Bureau, all that we do is we collect data on people and the economy, the U.S. economy. So we do about, I think the latest I heard is 130 different censuses and surveys a year. So we have people that are out in the field. We do surveys via email and mail. So that, we're collecting data basically every day. So the big one that we're known for is the decennial census, which we just completed for 2020. The American Community Survey we've been doing since 2005. For those of you who have been around a while like me, you may remember there's been a couple of past decennial censuses, like the 2000, which had a long form and a short form. The long form was eliminated for 2010, but it really didn't become eliminated. They transformed it into this American Community Survey. So you're still getting some of that localized data. It's just in a different format. And then we do an economic censuses on businesses. So if anyone's here from the business community, that one we do every 5 years. And I think I read 4 million US businesses are randomly selected to be a part of this census. And it can be as large as big corporations such as Target to your local mom and pop store. They used to be mailed out, but now they're emailed to people. And there's, when you open up the email, it tells you you've been selected, how to fill out the survey online, or, who to contact if you have any questions. So in case you get one of those, they are legitimate surveys. Everything that we send out, like the decennial census or the ACS or the econ census, those are mandated by law, and it'll tell you in the email or on the letter, U.S. Department of Commerce, Census Bureau, and it'll tell you for like demographic surveys, it'll say, Title 13 U.S. code. That's what gives the census permission to send out surveys and the decennial census to the American people. And then finally, our mission. Our agency mission is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about people and the economy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about redistricting data. That's what was in the news. That's what we do the decennial census is to compile the every 10-year data. So just a little bit about the decennial census. We've been doing it since 1790. We've done it every 10 years since. We're the only nation in the world that has been doing a decennial census for as long as we have. So, especially like myself, I'm a family genealogist. You already are familiar with the decennial data. Each decennial had different questions that were asked. Some decennial censuses were as short as 5 questions. I think the 1940 census had 50 questions. And then next year, the 1950 decennial census comes out, which I'm really interested because that's when my family came over to the US from Puerto Rico. So I'm interested to see, the information that they gathered on my family. So this, but really the data that we collect every 10 years is used for redistricting the seats in the House of Representatives. We do that information, we give it to the states and they do their redistricting. And then there's other reasons why we conduct the redistricting data or the decennial census. It's, the data is used for compliance with the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It's used as a benchmark for population estimates and projections. The data can be used in grant writing. It can be used in research. There's many different ways where you can use the decennial census. So that's the every 10-year census. So, this is the formula that's used for the redistricting. And there's more information on that on our webpage if you're interested in the redistricting data. I'm going to switch gears and talk about the American Community Survey. That's the one that we release so much data from, and it's really it's an important survey that we do. So this is a sample size. Well, the definition of a census is a 100% count. This is a survey, so it's a sample. So every year we randomly select 3.5 million addresses across the nation, from north to south, urban, rural, from everywhere. And these housing units are sent the survey. I say housing units because we have a database of all the residential units in the United States, and that was created in 1980. And that's how we use that database to mail out the census questionnaires when we do paper. So we don't know who lives in those housing units. So, so if you happen to get one or got one in the past, prior to working for the census, I had received the survey and had no idea what it was about. So it's a random selection. The ACS, like the decennial census, it was originally created to meet the needs of federal government agencies. So if any of you are from the nonprofit sector, and maybe you went for a grant for the federal government, all of the questions that are asked on this survey really are to meet the needs of federal agencies for any of their programs, any of their grant writing, whether or not there was a law that was written. That data is used for that first, but we release it to the public because we know that people are really interested in what's going on in their communities. So we put it on our website for free, and all the data that's on our website, it's paid for by our tax dollars. So really use it, and it's wonderful data. It's statistically tested, and you can just grab it and use it for, whether or not, like I said, you're writing a grant, or you're looking at maybe advertising to particular communities, or you're putting together a business plan. This is the data that you want. So again, the data for this is collected either by a questionnaire, in person or online. So like we did for the decennial census, the ACS, when we started doing it online, was a test for us to make sure that we could collect other censuses and questionnaires online, which was very successful for us in 2020. For geography, you can get data on the nation level all the way down to what we call the block group. So there's many iterations in between of geographies, and I have a couple slides in a little bit where I'm going to show you how to think about and how to understand how the census uses geography. So for the ACS, data is released twice a year. There's a 1-year sample and a 5-year sample. The 1-year sample is 12 months worth of data, and those are for communities, some of the larger communities that have 65,000 or more population. Okay. So for like the city of Philadelphia, you can compare 1-year census data. So if you wanted to look at the 2018 American Community Survey versus the 2019 Community Survey, the 1-year data, you can do that. For the smaller geographies, for counties, for townships, for boroughs, for cities that have less than 65,000 population, they get what's called the 5-year sample. The 5-year sample is simply 60 months worth of data. So we have to do, let's say, like the 2019 ACS is what's available now. So the 5-year samples from 2015 to 2019, and it's 60 months worth of data, but it was released in 2019. So we collect all that data. Let's say with the 2018 data, we had the 5-year sample. When the 2019 came, we pushed off the first year, did another 5 years, and you have 60 months worth of data. So every geography gets the 5-year, but only the very large ones get that 1-year sample. And as I show you how we use the data, you'll understand which one is best for your usage. All of our data is via lots of data tools on the Census website. Everything's digital. We have many, many different tools that use census data that are tailored to particular data users. So we have one called QuickFacts, which I think I'll have time to show you, where you basically just go in and say, I just want to know what the median income for Chester, Pennsylvania is. You can type in the geography. It has about 40 different data items. You scroll down to the income part and it'll say median income. It has stuff like median income, poverty data, information on how many veterans are in a community, and things like that. So it's very simple. And then we have a tool for businesses called Census Business Builder, which is a really cool tool, which uses census data and economic data, and you can put in your industry, and then you can make maps and you can look around and say, okay, I want to filter median income by zip code. I want to know where a particular median income is for my business, for who I want to promote my product to. You can do that. And then so I'll show you QuickFacts, and I'll show you data.census.gov, which is a really big data tool. And that holds econ data, it holds ACS data, decennial data. It's a very, very big tool. And I'm going to show you how to step-by-step how to grab data out of there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the ACS. So ACS data is broken down into 4 different topics. And this is just a sample from each topic. I kind of just want to give you an idea of what you can get. So under the social data, you can get information such as education, marital status, relationships, fertility, data on grandparents who care for grandchildren. Under demographic, you can get your basic demographic data: sex, age, race, Hispanic origin, and housing units. Under housing data, you can get occupancy and structure, housing value, you can get owner versus rented, and you can get utilities. If anyone out there is looking for information on internet access to households, internet is considered a utility. So you would go under the housing table for the utility, and it'll tell you there's different tables on, who has broadband access, what kind of access do they have, do they, use the internet on their phone. So there's a lot of really interesting data on that. And then the economic data. So this is where you get your income data, your employment data, what types of occupation do people have, how people get to work, et cetera, et cetera. I think there's like 50 or 60 different topics. So it's a very long survey, but there's a lot of really rich data that comes from it. I just want to kind of talk a little bit about sampling and the survey. So this is what the paper form looks like, in case you've never seen one before. So like the decennial census, the head of the household fills out the information for themselves and then for everyone in their household. So you are telling the Census Bureau what is going on in your household. Okay, we don't already know that. you're giving us that information. So because it's a sample, that's always samples are always subject to sampling error, where someone may have like left a question, not filled it out. They may have filled it out wrong. They may have not understood the question. So that's always kind of factored in when we release the data. Then we have non-sampling error, which might be a processing error or something of that sort. So I'll show you on the table when we have the data, it'll have the estimate, and that'll have what's called a margin of error. And we always show that because we want people to understand that it's a survey. It's a survey of people. And basically, the Census Bureau says that there's a 90% confidence level with the survey. So with the data that we collect for ACS, the census is saying we're 90% confident that the information that's coming from this survey is correct. Okay. So here's what a table looks like from data.census.gov. This is simply, I put in, let's say I was a planner and I'm looking for information on Philadelphia County. So you'll see it has the name of the table is called ACS Demographic and Housing Estimates. We tell you what survey it comes from. So this is data from the American Community Survey. The table ID is DP, that's a demographic profile. And then it tells you the product, what year and what estimate. So this is data from the 2019 5-year estimate. And then when I show you the live demo, you can click this pull down and you can quickly change between years of data, and then the system will just refresh. It's in the cloud, so it's super fast. So here you'll have Philadelphia County. This is very quickly just a sex and age table. So it has, as of 2019, it's estimated that there's 1,579,075 people. That's the estimate. So then you'll see the male versus female, and then see the margin of error. It could be plus or minus 219 people. Then we also have the percent. So if you're interested in the percentage of male versus female, we give you the percent and then the percent margin of error. Okay. So I just kind of give you a reminder. People ask me a lot, like, what is the acceptable value, acceptable ranges for error? So the census is saying there's no hard and fast rules for determining. You have to determine yourself whether or not the data that you're using is acceptable for your needs. So please evaluate how you're applying the data to determine what level of precision you need for the estimate to be useful. And that's not only with ACS data, but that's with any estimate that you use or any kind of information that you're gathering for your your government or your business. I'm going to go into geography. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's go into chat questions. Is there anything that I can answer right now?
Feel free to drop your questions in the chat. So far, we just had one comment from someone who is looking for Chinese population in Northeast Philadelphia and seniors in zip codes, some zip codes that she put in the chat. So she's interested in a lot of different data, which is great.
Okay.
And then I told her you'd be doing a demonstration in a few minutes.
Sure.
And then someone else says, does the ACS ask about health status of an individual, i.e. chronic disease, or is there another survey that we can access that has health status info?
So we do ask some questions on health. So the individual that is filling out the form tells us what's going on in their household. So if they do, we don't do chronic disease, we do disability status. So they'll tell us, like, do they have a hearing disability? Are they blind? Do they have a mobile disability? So that's what we ask. As far as health status, I would look at data from Health and Human Services. They're really sort of the census for health data. So I would HHS. You can see what's available on there. See if they have the answer that you're looking for. Okay. Thanks for those questions. I'm gonna make a special note about the zip code stuff. Okay, so let's go into census geography. So the census collects data from the national level down to the local level. So we also collect data for Puerto Rico. There's a Puerto Rico community survey. And then for the, the decennial data, we collect them from the Virgin Islands as well as Puerto Rico and the US. So for instance, here we have, oops, sorry. We have Colorado. So let's say we're looking for data for Colorado, but within a county, you can get data for one or more counties. So let's say we're looking at data for this particular county, and then you can look at tract data. And I'm going to go over what tract data is for a particular county, and then you can get data for the block group. This is a little misleading because you can't, I'll explain what a block group and a block is. For the American Community Survey, we do not release data at the block level because it's a sample. And one of the things that the census has is with Title 13 that I mentioned earlier, we're not allowed to release data where people can be personally identified. So let's say you're looking at a block in, let's say, Philadelphia, and you wanted to get information on people who are Chinese for a particular block. You won't get data down at that level because we can't release it. But the next level up will be a block group, which I'm going to show you what that looks like. It's accumulation of block groups. You can most likely get data at the zip code level. You can get it at the tract level, certainly the county and the state. So just be aware, if you're looking for a data item and you're pulling a table, there might be a symbol in the cell where the data would be. And then if you scroll down, there'll be an appendix that'll tell you why that symbol is and what it means, okay? So once again, we can go from the nation to a state, to the county, to a census tract, a block group, a block group or a block. You can get some data down in the block group level from the decennial census, but the data that's has been put out, we've only put out 6 tables. We haven't put out all of the data from the decennial census. A lot of that's coming out next year. So at the block level, you may not get what you might need, at least right now from the decennial. So let's go back to a geography. So let's look at a block. So it might be, let's say, the block that the free library is in, right? If you look at a map of the block, you can see that there's these streets that form these boundaries, right? So each little street is a boundary for a block, and the block that the free library is in has a block number. So let's say you're in that community and you say, well, I want to look for, let's say, median income for the neighborhood that the free library is in. We don't recognize neighborhoods, but you can put together block groups that closely form the geography of a neighborhood. And let's say you say, okay, I want to look further out and I want to say, what are the other areas around the free library? What does median income look for that? So you can use a census tract. Now, what's good about census geography is that it only changes every 10 years. And we work with the city of Philadelphia to make any alterations to those geographies. So, many of us know there's been a lot of, there's been a housing boom in Philadelphia. So when a block group or a tract and they build more housing units and more people move in, the census has, for each block group, typically has between 600 and 3,000 population or 240 to 120 housing units. So let's say there's a block where there's been a lot of development or a block where housing has been removed. If it doesn't meet this threshold, a block group may be absorbed by other block groups with it, or it might have expanded and become its own block group. And we do that to make sure that we have enough population in those geographies so that we can release data. So let's say this census tract here. So you have block 3014, which think of it as a little Lego, and say, okay, I'm going to take some Legos and build a community. And I take all the Legos that start with 3000, they become part of block group 3. Then these block groups, so we have block groups like 1, 2, and 3, they get put together to create a census tract. Okay. Now, see this, it said census tract 5.02. This tells us that at some point, maybe last census, maybe the census before that, there was a lot of growth here. So census tract 5 was divided into 01 and 02, and there might even be an 03. Okay, so that's what that means. If you see that little suffix there, it means that at some point this tract was divided. Any additional geography questions in the chat? Geography is very complicated, I have to say, but I'm going to try to break it down when we are looking at the data so that you can understand all the different levels.
No questions have been dropped in the chat, but again, continue to drop them and I'll make sure that we get to them.
Okay, so with the time I have left, we've got plenty of time. I'm going to do a couple of demos and I'm going to show you how to get to our tools. I'll show you quick facts, and then the rest of the time we're going to use data.census.gov. Oh, but before I forget, this is my contact info. So if you need to email me at any time, feel free to email me. Also, we have a phone number you can actually call, and you can reach some of our assistants. So if you have a burning question, you can call them and they'll answer the phone, or you can even send them an email. And let's say it's something in particular to Philadelphia, and they'll say, okay, they're going to send it to me because I cover Philadelphia. They'll route it to me. So that's a couple other ways to get a hold of me. And then I'm going to try to remember to show you our Census Academy, which is our website where people like myself have created videos about particular topics. So let's say you want to go back and say, I want to learn more about the redistricting data. We have these short little videos that you can watch that tell you all about the data. So it's neat, and it's right on our website, and it's taught by subject matter experts, and it's free. Okay. So I'm going to keep this open, and then you should be able to see the website. So our address is census.gov, and this is what the website looks like. We have lots of information here. If you're ever in one of our surveys, you can go right here and you can get help. This is all the latest news that's come out regarding census data. Lots of stories that we write that are about census data, our visualizations, and any of our pop publications are here. And then we have a hub just on COVID-19, how that's affected small businesses and individuals. So if you're looking for that information, it's all there. But on our website, I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Right here where it says access data, you see it in the very small type, it says quick facts. So right from our webpage, just click on there. And you see how quick it rendered. With any of our data tools, if you don't put in a geography, it's going to default to the US. So be aware of that when you're getting data, that you grab the right geography. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in Philadelphia. Philadelphia City, Philadelphia County, they're both the same. So you see how it kind of added a column. So these are all the topics. There's population, age and sex, race and Hispanic origin, population characteristics, housing, family and living arrangements, computer and internet usage, education, health, economy, transportation, income and poverty, business, and then geography. So those are the topics that you can see here. So under population, you have a couple different data sources. Here's the 2020 data. Here's the 2010 data. And then in between censuses, so these are the official population counts. When we're not doing the census, in order to get the official population counts, we have a population estimates program. So sometimes you'll read a news story that you think the data comes out in the summer and it'll say, Philadelphia is the 6th largest city or county in the nation. That's what that information comes from, is the estimates program. Reporters love using that data. They like to, compare, which states have grown, which states have shrunk between the censuses, and that's the data for that. So for age and sex, you'll have persons under 5, 18, 65 and over, and then female. Race and Hispanic origin, just a little kind of like asterisk on race data. The federal government collects data for 5 races, and then people like myself who are Hispanic or Latino, it's considered an ethnicity. So I get a lot of questions from people say, hey, I added up race and Hispanic origin and the total's over 100%. That's because you can't add Hispanic origin. In the questions on the ACS and the decennial census, you would pick your race, you can pick multiple races, and then you can tell us what your ethnicity is. So there's a little bit of confusion, but that's how it works. So the 5 races that the US government collects data for is white, Black or African American, American Indian and Alaska Native, Asian, Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander, and then you'll see Hispanic or Latino percent, okay? We also have information on veterans and foreign born, lots of information on housing, family and living arrangements. We have households living in the same house 1 year ago. That's from migration, language use, language other than English spoken at home. Another little thing to just understand about census data is a household is different than a family unit. So a family, according to the federal government, is anyone who is they're either married, children, or adopted. They're considered a family. So you can have a household with like roommates who are not related to each other, but they're a household, okay? Here's computer and internet usage, broadband, so there's that computer usage. Here's education data, bachelor's or high school and older. Here's health data, people with a disability, and we also have information on whether someone has insurance, doesn't have insurance, and what kind of insurance they have. Here's the economic data from our economic censuses, retail, healthcare, how people get to work. Here's the median household income for Philadelphia, the per capita income, the percentage of people in poverty. There's business data, women-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned firms, and then just some little geography tidbits. Okay, I saw some questions pop up, so let's see if I can answer any of them right now. Okay. No questions? That's great. Just some chatting. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so this is, again, this is quick facts. This is super easy. I'm gonna go back to our main site. Okay, so for Census Academy and for all the other data tools, what you're going to do is you're gonna hover over Explore Data. I know it's not probably the best wording, but it's been like this for a while. So you click on the tab and you'll see data tools and apps. So you can get Census Business Builder, you can get quick facts from there, you can get data.census.gov there. It's all there. Let me quickly show you Census Academy. So all this stuff on here is free. So you can look at data by topic. So if you want to watch videos on 2020 census, we have that on any of our data tools, like the ones that I showed you, on data science, population. You want to learn more about geography, all that stuff is there. So we have these short little videos on 2020 census. So if you want to watch, and they're usually not very long, there's one big course about the redistricting data, or you can watch the little snippets, like how do I compare 2020 and 2010 redistricting data. So that's under Census Academy. Okay. And again, to find that, go under Explore Data, Census Academy. Here is Explore Data main. So this is the meat and potatoes. This is why you're here, to view this. So you're going to go to, or you can just type in data.census.gov. So if you want to skip all this and just type that, it's going to take you to our website. So it's very simple. You just type in what it is that you're interested in. So let's look at median income, Philadelphia. Oops. Hit the little icon. So it gives you right here. It tells you right there, very easy. Here's the median income from the 2019 ACS. So that's the latest that's available. So you can click on that. It'll take you to a table. You can click on a profile. You can look at particular tables. So you can do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this guy right here. And this is the table that I showed you earlier. So how do I read this? This is income in the past 12 months from the American Community Survey. Here's that table ID, and here's the data. So here's for Philadelphia County. This table is broken up into different income levels. Then it has the median income, and then it has, remember how I said about households versus families? So if you want data on households, you can get that. If you just want data on families, it also has married couple families and non-family households. So for this household table, this is how it's broken up. Let me just go back to the beginning of the table. So if you want, for Philadelphia, for household data, if you want to look at the median income, it tells you here's the information right there. And then there's the margin of error. So it's plus or minus 1,609, okay? Sometimes people ignore this, but I like to show it because I want to be a responsible teacher and let you know that because it's a sample, you know, it's not a true number, it's an estimate, okay? If you want to look at other data tables, you hit the pull down. So let's show you this. So we said the median income with the 1 year survey is 47,474. So if I switch to the 5 year, the median income is 45,927. So that's why it's important for you to think ahead and be like, okay, do I want the 1 year estimate or do I want the 5 year estimate? So the 5 year estimate is a little bit lower, but look at the margin of error. It's in half from the 1 year, okay? So the 1 year, it was in the thousands. In the 5 year, it's approximately plus or minus 542, okay? I'm going to show you, let's say you wanted to add other counties. I'm going to show you that. You hit that customized table. You go to geography and say, okay, I want to add some of the surrounding counties for Philadelphia. So I'm going to go down, you select the county, but you have to select the state first. And then I want to look at maybe Bucks, Chester, and Delaware. And let's add in Montgomery. You see how fast it kind of renders? So as long as you have your geographies here in green and you're happy with them, you can click the X and remove them. So I have my geographies. I'm going to hit close. Now the table has, for the metro area, it has that information for Bucks, same table structure. It's a little long. Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, and Philadelphia. So from here, you can download this information into an Excel file. So if you want that information and you want to do a report, you can grab it that way. If any of you work with a mapping application such as a GIS, or you want the table in a CSV, you can just click the download button. It's a little bit different for people who use that. You can print the table out and then you can make a map, which is my actual favorite part as a geography nerd. I want to make a map of median income for the 5 counties. As long as you have 1 or more geographies, you can make a map. It's going to zoom in. So right now it's mapping households total. So you can hit the pull down and you can select like any other information on families, married couples, non-family. Let's do families, median income. So you just scroll down till you see families, you'll see the estimate. So that changes a little bit. Then what you can do here is what I suggest is if you want to change the color structure, hit the gear and you can change your color palette to whatever it is you want. You can do that. You can change your data classes. You can go up to 9 different classes. So let's say I want to do 6 classes. I can do that. I can change the natural, if you know, for people who this matters to them and know a little bit about statistics, you can change it from natural breaks to quartiles. And you see it changes the color structure. Okay, I'm just gonna do quantile. So here I have my map. Right now, there's no way to download the map. They're working on, hitting a print button so you can get it. What I suggest is just taking a screenshot of your map. So you have your breakdown here and you have your map. You can also change the base map in case you're interested. You can do that. You can, if you wanted to add other geographies, hit select and say, oh, I want to add Delaware because maybe I forgot. And then, oh, I can, oh, no, actually, oh, I see it's already selected. It's because it's such a low number. Let me see if I can pick one. That's a little darker. These aren't, I don't like these different color ones, but this will show you what's selected. But if I wanted to add maybe Lancaster, I can select it. Berks, and I can select it. So you can see it's very simple. Or say, oh, I made a mistake. I don't want to. I can click it again and I can deselect it. So it's very simple. And then if you add any geographies to your map, it's going to show up in your table. Okay. Now I want to do the example with the zip codes and the time that I have, but I want to see, is there anything in the chat that popped up that I can answer pretty quickly?
I did have one interesting question, and I put my 2 cents in, but I would love to hear yours. So someone asked, how specific do the searches need to be in the search box, or will it pull up anything related?
You can drill down pretty far, but I don't know like where the cutoff is. So you can try it. If you want to try with like a very specific geography and you can't get it at that level, go one level up, because it may be that the geography is too small and we are not allowed to release the data, so there's no data for it.
And it's a pretty good keyword search. I use this all the time in the library. It's a pretty good keyword search, and I did advise her to start broad and go from there. Is that
That's
accurate?
what I suggest. Yep. See, I would start broad and then see how small you can filter down. That's a good suggestion.
Thank you.
So I want to show, I'm going to go to my geographies and I'm kind of want to clear them because I kind of want to show the zip code thing. So a lot of people want data by zip code because we recognize a zip code as, part of the community that we live in. But one caveat I want to mention, and I don't think this is in Philadelphia, but I know I've seen it in other areas where a zip code, so a census tract, a census block, and a block group, and they don't extend beyond the county, right? So if you select the tract group, you're not going to get data for both Montgomery and Philadelphia. It's going to stop at the Philadelphia county line. That's not true for zip codes. We don't create them. The post office creates them. And they're basically a delivery area for the postal person to deliver area. So you may have zip codes. I know here in New Jersey where I am, where a zip code could cover more than one town, multiple towns, part of a town. So be aware when you're selecting zip codes, if you want that data, that you do your research ahead of time to make sure that what you're selecting is what you're actually selecting. So and then the other caveat is that because I said that a zip code may cross the county line, the census doesn't, kind of wonky. I'm going to show you here for Philadelphia. You can just, so all I did was I clicked on the map, right? Under my geographies, I'm going to go down. And there's 2 types to make things more complicated. So I hope you're writing notes. Zip code, like what you want for demographic data, you want what's called a zip code tabulation area. It's called a ZICTA. So write this down. It's zip code tabulation area. If you scroll down further, you will see another zip code. Don't use that one. That's just for, where is it? I know it's here. The other zip code is for business data, okay? Because it's where the business is filing taxes, that's that zip code. But for decennial data, for demographic data, you want zip code tabulation area. So now let me zoom in a little bit. So you'll see here, I hate when I do this. is so funky. Hang on a second. Okay. So when you are grabbing, what's nice about parts of Philadelphia is they're very compact. You know what I'm saying? And like these all kind of clip to like these roads here. So you'll see some of these like areas like where the airport is and stuff like that. It's one big zip code. So, you know, you may not get a lot of data for that because there may not be enough households. But I wrote down two zip codes, 19152. I can't find it here. What I'm going to go do is I'm going to go back to the table. I'm going to go back to geography. And I'm going to go to zip code tabulation area. And I'm going to choose Pennsylvania. And then I'm going to choose, okay, see how with census tracts and block groups, you can go census tracts, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and then select them because zip codes don't respect the same geographic rules. You're going to have zip codes for the entire state. So let's see if we can do 19152. I think it was 19149. Is that right? Let me see. Let's just, I'm just going to start with these two and I'm going to hit close. So you've got, let's see. I think it stuck them at the end. Yeah, let me see if I can get rid of, I can't, won't let me get rid of Pennsylvania County. But let's just hit close. So if you scroll over to the end, you have your zip codes. Let me see if I can just type in. This will be a real test of the system. No, you're going to have to do probably ancestry. That's interesting. It's not showing up. Let me go back to ancestry. Oh, you see how it gives us, that's neat. I put in our main webpage ancestry and it gave us a couple of table suggestions. So B04004 is people reporting single ancestry. Oh, look, it took us, oh, how cool was that? I didn't even know it did that. It took us to the ancestry table. So you can also kind of like close some of these out. Let's see. African, West Indian. I don't see. That's interesting. I've been. Let's see. B. Before I end today, I'm going to see if I can do this one example. 04004. Philadelphia. I'm going to do some research on why there's no Asian on here. Let me try the 5-year. No, I don't see it on here. Hang on. So here's the race table. Here's Asian alone. So I know I can get Asian alone. I just have to figure out how to get Chinese alone. So I know that's not the answer to that individual's question, but could you send me an email and then we can chat back and forth about what it is you're looking for. So in case I need to do some research on my own to find your answer, I would love to get you your answer. Is that okay? Okay. So I have time for a few more questions. Is there anything else that's burning right now?
I mean, I'm going to allow people to unmute themselves so that they can ask questions. You can either type it into the chat if you're more comfortable with that, or just give me one moment and I will allow you to unmute yourselves as well if you prefer
Yeah,
to ask
one at a
verbally.
time, please. Yeah.
Okay, you should be able to unmute yourselves.
Yeah, we've got about, was it 5 minutes left, I think?
Yep, 5 minutes.
Oh, hi, hello. My name is Pearl Huan. I'm serving the Northern Philadelphia Chinese population.
Okay.
I'm so glad to reach out to you because I've been trying to get data for my community, but I sent inquiry to the library, to the state office. Nobody can give me this specific answer. We tried
Okay.
to find out how many like senior, Chinese senior in the local, because there's a need and we want to find
For
a
housing.
specific number. So it's
Right.
just a community center for the senior, because in the lower Northeast, we have, by the fact that we see people, there's so many Asian that don't have place to go, like a senior center.
Right.
But when it need to come up with a number, nobody knows where to get it. And a couple of people try, but it's like
Right.
a struggle. And also the second thing I want to bring to your attention, in the when we do the census, there are many the census bureau hire many Asian come out and help, but none of them mention about American something survey.
Oh, because yeah, they're two different programs. So yeah, they don't, because we keep them separate. When they came out to help get people fill out the census forms,
Yeah,
they don't talk about the ACS, which is a little weird because we do them at the same time sometimes.
yeah.
So that's why you don't know about the ACS.
So
Yeah.
it's causing some issue that I want to bring to your attention.
Sure.
But, I do the community organizing, but even I don't never heard about this. I'm sorry, I'm not
Okay.
informed. Then last year, one of my community member called me up and say, oh, they received this